They made us wait almost 2 years. Almost 2 years for this. So that they can, like, throw it out the window, like, boop.
You've got Chase Mail.
Hey everybody, this is Chase Mail, and I am just bringing you what was off about Stranger Things Season 3. Yeah, it's 4th of July actually here, and there are fireworks going off all over, so if it does get picked up on the recording, I don't know what to tell you, but oh well. So yes, actually I have 3 pages of notes I've written on what was off about it. I don't think it's too bad. Season 3, you know, with any series is always a pivotal point, because if you make Season 1 and 2 really good, which is what Stranger Things did, then the problem is Season 3, how are you gonna top it? So this is pretty much, you know, I didn't want to be negative. I'm not going to be some negative Nancy, because I do love Stranger Things. It's like one of my favorite shows. I really loved it since Season 1, and I've probably watched it like 5 or 6 times. So was there a lot to meet up with in Season 3? No, there wasn't. You just could have made it like Season 1 and 2, and you wouldn't have had any, I don't know how to call it, like issues, if you just made it simple. So I'm gonna go over quite a few facts here with what had happened and how I felt it was off. So here we go. 11 at times is a bit in the background. Now where we left off with her, she ended up, you know, like going out with Mike. She was still kind of in secret, and you know, I really didn't feel that she, I don't know, that she didn't have enough character in this. I mean, she did, but it's like, oh, we already know Elle, so you don't really need any more. It's like, no, we do need more, because now you've opened up a wide door in Season 2, and you know, for a character to grow, like, you know, now she can be out in the open. You know, even though she is still hiding, she does, you know, go out a few times to the mall, I think, get some ice cream. They really could have dealt more with her feelings, and they did not use Miley as much as they should have. They kind of, I mean, the last episode was really great, but it was like, okay, you didn't really have much of a build up to the last episode. I didn't even know what was going on in the last episode. I was like, okay, like, I think we need to like destroy this thing and close this gate. And speaking of gate, that is another thing. It's like they rehashed, in order for you to be familiar with Season 1 and 2, they rehashed the gate thing. Like, oh, we need to open up the gate and it's causing problems. Well, actually the monster is kind of still out from Season 2, because it flew off. You find out that it flew off in Season 2. If you can remember that, there is a piece of it that's still there. So I didn't even remember that. Like, I mean, like, I remembered that, but I didn't think anything about that. I mean, I don't know why I didn't like put 2 and 2 together, but they honestly, you know, they had all these ends and they tied up quite a few loose ends. I really liked that about the show. I thought that was pretty great. I felt it was kind of lame with just Elle. She had so much potential and so many more things. It's like, oh yeah, you know, she can move stuff with her mind, so let's have her do a few of those things. And you know, you're playing with her powers. Not really anymore. She doesn't really have better powers than she did in Season 2 when she opened them up. So I just, I don't know how I felt. I felt like it was times of greatness, and then times of like, she's in the background, other characters are being focused on, which was great. Which is the next step I'm going to get to. So Jim and, oh gosh, Winona Ryder's character. Why didn't I write this down? Oh my gosh. The reason I didn't write a lot of stuff down is because, well, I really wanted to get this out, and I've been just trying to get my videos out. So July 4th, I kind of like wanted this video at least out the next day. So Joyce, that's her name, Jim and Joyce. So they were trying to build up a relationship with those two, which was really great. And then at the same time, here's a big spoiler, so turn it off now. Jim dies at the very end of the episode of the last, the end. So episode 8. So I had an issue with that. Why he died, to build it up to that. Maybe he'll come back in Season 4, but to elude that he's dead, and he pretty much is. I mean, they never showed it, so you probably know he will come back in Season 4. And then they did show the door kind of like closed up a little bit on this door, because it never showed him evaporating, and I don't know, maybe the Russians took him or something, and I'm sure that they will work that out. But for me, that was kind of silly. I thought that was like to build it all up. And another, okay, let's go on about Oh, Jim and Joyce, you know, that was so annoying. It was campy, like they were arguing back and forth, and they were arguing like children kind of back and forth. And was that a good thing? Well, it was some good character development, but Jim like went crazy. Like Jim was always like, oh my God, like, oh, will you just, oh, like, he just like he went out of Jim character a little bit, in which I felt was a little bit weird. I felt Joyce kind of went out of that scared mom phase, and she went in a different character. I know that characters grow, but this was almost like a separate character of Joyce. And she went back to Joyce a few times. I think season 2 she was amazing, and season 3 she was like, I don't know. I'm gonna let you guys decide for that. I felt it was weird. I felt it was so weird with Joyce. I didn't like it. I really felt like none of the kids had any connection to the parents. Like the parents were off doing something else, and then the kids were off doing something else, and one of the moms mentions, Mike's mom, Mrs. Byers, she mentions, oh, well, it's summer, they're just out, you know, they're kids. It's like, no, you don't do that. You don't like make this all up in one sentence and say the reason why nobody's together is because it's summer. Like, no, that's stupid. It's just stupid. I can't deal with that. For them to build up for 2 seasons also with Elle about her and Mike, and then for her to dump him in like, I don't know, what was it, episode 1 or 2 or something? I don't remember. I was trying to write down a lot of notes, but you know, it doesn't really matter. The point is that she dumps Mike very early on, and there's no reason for this. It was like a girl thing, and girls are trying to show like how girls were in the 80s. Like, I don't know, like that's an awful thing, you know. So you build up and then you make us wait. This is the other thing that is in my notes, is that they made us wait almost 2 years for this, so that they can like throw it out the window, like boop, like, oh yeah, so remember, you know, remember when they were supposed to be dating and they were getting together, and then they kind of like broke up earlier on. You know, I didn't wait 2 years for that. So I really think that they could have written it a lot better, and I don't know, maybe they needed to separate the characters for some reason. I think they could have had them all together a little bit more. So I don't know. Again, the character in this movie, the characters, like all their character building, it's like they said, well, we built it all up in season 1 and 2, so season 3 you just kind of flow and you just ride the wave of, you know who they are. No, you can always build a great story as you always build the characters. Look at the Avengers. Even though we all know Tony's still, like, you could still like build from Tony Stark. Captain America can still build from that, even though, you know, there wasn't really any what I call, you know, wave riding. And it's just like, well, you know, we already know him, so just throw him in there, do some special things, and write, you know, a little bit more of a story for him. Like, no, that's just silly. Dustin, he was so separate from the group. He was with Steve again. I think those two are a great pair. I do know that needed to be its own like separate story, but I really felt like none of the kids connected. If you build a story in the beginning about kids connecting, and maybe this season 3 you wanted to show a family split apart, well, at the very end, and here's the ending of the you know, like they all kind of go away. Some of them stay together, some of them leave. So, like that, I don't know. It still felt like the family wasn't whole, because they are a family, all of them, and it just didn't feel at all great. Product placement. There was so much. Now, I don't mind product placement and showing it in the 80s. I want to see that. Like, that's my thing. I want to see product placement in the 80s. I want to see it. But the way they use some of it, like Jim Hopper gets out of the car with like a Burger King bag, and he like lifts it up in the camera, and I'm like, dude, come on. And then like Coke. When Coke was a placement in season 1, it was very subtle. You saw it on television. Only purpose for it was a flashback to like Elle having, she didn't kill the cat. Like, I mean, well, she did the Coke can, and then they wanted her to kill the cat. Well, she wouldn't do it. They could have done a little hats off to it, but it was in there a lot. I don't know, there was that, there was all this other product placement constantly. Felt like it was a little bit too much product placement. So okay, so one thing that really threw off this show, and this is what it was: music is a giant part of a film. Stranger Things has a thing where it has that vibe and that like 80s music, or sci-fi music, however they do it. That was barely in there. It was maybe in a few episodes when it was in there, like when Elle was fighting something and they'd throw in that old music, or they'd be talking and they'd throw in like that really nice music from the 80s. That made it feel like the show. That absolutely made it feel like the show. And then instead, they didn't do that. They replaced it with like music that they got copyrights to, because obviously they had a bigger budget. That was stupid. They should have, had that music play a little bit. And yes, they did that with season 1 and 2, but not as bad. I really felt like a lot of the music was not the same, and that changed the story. What else changed it was the lighting. That's right, it was darker. The whole thing was darker. Everything just felt like, when you looked at their faces, like if it was hot like it is in here, it's freaking 100 degrees. They were all sweating, like it was just sweat, and you could see like they were greasy on sets and all that. So and then when they toned down the lighting, it made them look dark and dirty. Other bigger thing is they went from sci-fi with a little bit of horror element, some horror hats off too, and they went straight into horror. The movie, the whole season 3 was like horror. It was gory, it was bloody, it was very violently bloody at times, like when the monster would make everybody kind of implode into like blood meshed vomit. That was strange for me. Stranger Things. Well, I don't know. It doesn't need to be that strange. And that, so you took a sci-fi show with some horror elements and you made it into a full horror element thing and horror drama. And that changes your whole show. So that was something, yes, you want to be different, but you don't change the whole chemistry of a show. And if you want to disagree with me, go ahead. That's how Heroes got ruined. Heroes went from, let's do this kind of like comic book superhero thing, but more on the superhero side, but then in season 2, we'll make it more comic bookish. And that's exactly what they did. They went like way too comic book, and then it took them halfway through season 3 to climb out. Half of season 3 was really good, and then they just, I don't know, they tried to bring it back and they couldn't because, hey, it was too late. Like they lost a lot of their core fan base. So I really have a serious issue with season 3 for Stranger Things in that sense, and this is what I was worried about. My fears did come true, that there would be a lot of it wasn't great. Only 8 episodes. Why only 8 episodes? Why not 9 episodes or 10 or 13? That's what I don't get. Why only 8? I felt that was way too short. And what is crap about those 8 episodes is that they almost made us wait the 2 years. It was almost fully 2 years. I think like 3 more months, it would have been 3-4 more months, it would have been like 2 years. And that's a load of garbage. You don't make us wait that long. Should have been out in a year, and that's just silly. You didn't really need a July 4th theme. I have no idea what it represented, so they could use fireworks at the end. I don't know. Oh, and Will. Let's talk about Will a little bit. Will was a little bit in the background, but he could sense the creature, which I thought was really cool. But I feel like if you're sensing the creature and you're kind of like Elle's person there, where like Elle's got the power to throw things and he's got the power to sense things, kind of like an X-Men thing. I really enjoyed that, but at the same time, him being gay. I'm not sure if they were saying he was gay. Mike ends up saying, hey, well, it's okay. I know you don't like girls. Like, was he referring to he doesn't like girls at his age? Because a lot of boys don't end up liking girls till they're around 16 or 18 or something. That he's like, what? Either they're like 13 or 14 in this. I don't know how old they're supposed to be, but I don't know if they were referencing he liked boys or that they were referencing that. I don't know why they have to be confusing. Like, just come out and say he's gay. Or I don't know. It's like, it was crap like that. I don't know. Bad writing. There was more comedy relief in this. That was really odd too. The comedy relief I didn't relate to because the other seasons, the other 2 were really serious. There was almost no comedy relief. I don't know. Maybe they got silly and they didn't tone it down, but they really shouldn't have toned it down to somebody else's level, especially when you're doing like comedy and then you turn the show into horror. That's not great. There was too many, like, I don't know, they thought like Jim Hopper could be a comedian and they thought that him yelling would be really funny, and it wasn't. It was exceptionally boring. So I really hated that. If there was something funny in season 1 and 2, it was very subtle and it was a little dry, which I'm fine with. And it was the #1 show on Netflix. Why do we need comedy relief? Why are we needing to change it up for people? Just make the show one straight line of greatness. That's all you have to do. And you kind of dropped the ball on that. I really felt that. Another thing, I was hoping to see Papa, and I didn't see him. He was completely gone. The guy says in season 2, like, oh, I know he's alive, so I waited 2 years. Again, the 2-year thing. I waited for this and they dropped the ball. He didn't even make a cameo. Not even a cameo. The Russian thing was a bit cliche. I'm not sure if they were trying to do Red Dawn or whatever, but that was a little cliche. I did adore the fact that they used real Russians. That is always a huge plus for me because I speak Russian, and to hear a real Russian speak Russian was pretty great. So there were some American speaking Russian, but the Russian, you know the difference. So that I felt was a plus, but at the same time, cliched Russian element. I felt like they're trying to get to point A to point B. They couldn't do it. I felt like they went from point A, like point A, B, C, D, D, like F, E, G, you know, like it would just, you know, like really quick. I really felt like they didn't try and get from one area to the next. Because I didn't know what the show was about. Okay, we found out these guys are trying to open up a portal in Hawkins. How many portals have we opened up in Hawkins? I don't care if that's what the show is about. The show is not about opening up a portal in Hopkins. Did I say Hopkins? I meant Hawkins. Hawkins, I was thinking of Hopper. Yeah, so Hawkins. We're rehashing a story, but we're trying to make a brand new story. We did not need to make a brand new story based on an old story. You could have made a brand new story like you did in season 2, based off of some of the elements in season 1. That is cool. But in this one, they're like, hey, let's try and reopen a portal. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna stop whatever. The smoke monster in season 2, I was expecting a huge payoff with that. Considering the way season 2 ended, it was like, oh, well, we're gonna show it a little bit, and apparently it's still alive. Apparently part of it got out, but part of it's still alive. And then the ending of this one, which there is a mid-credit scene in episode 8, it just shows a Demogorgon again. That was nothing special. I guess the Russians have a pet Demogorgon? I don't know. I don't care. I don't give a crap about your Demogorgon. I want something new. I want the black smoke monster to do whatever and figure this out. Do we destroy this world? What is gonna happen? I know, here's a big problem with the show. At the end of season 3, they set it up for something at least that could carry on for 3 or 4 more seasons. Now, they've also mentioned we're only doing season 4 or possibly 5 at the most. You could do like 6, 7 more seasons with this thing. I'm serious, the kids could be older, I mean, you could do whatever. But unless if you close this gate or you destroy the entire Upside Down, yeah, you can do it, but I disagree with a lot of it. I really do. I disagree with what they opened up in season 3, because now I'm gonna wait 1 or 2 more years and it's gonna be like silly. It's gonna be like Elle missing Mike. And I have this fear now that since they possibly killed Hopper, I'm afraid that what they did with Hopper, they're gonna do with like Elle. They're gonna kill her or something stupid, because it's off Hopper. Like, oh, he's dead. There was no build up to it. It was Joyce being sad again and trying to find somebody that she loved, and oh, let's kill him too. So I disagree with that strongly. No Elle mom. That was a problem too. I was expecting Elle's mom to come back. I mean, you could have done something with that with the other girl too, number 8. You could have done something with her. Oh, my freaking computer. But on to the positive of this, because I think negative is just garbage. If you just do negative reviews, that's all a bunch of clickbait. So you have to give out some positives about how great it was. You know, hence of why people, when they did the Dark Phoenix, they went on all the negative, and then never said how much it actually was a good movie. So that's another subject, which I will do later. The CGI was phenomenal. It was better than I've seen in movies. Like, talking Captain America movies, like big movies. I've seen better CG in Stranger Things. What they did is they toned down a lot of it in Darkness, which I thought was great. A lot of CG in Captain America is usually in the daytime, things like that. You know, with Stranger Things, CG, I felt like they had a $200 million budget. That's how good it looked. It looked that great. So honestly, they did a really good job, a very, very good job. There was one part when Elle's on the beach, I think it's episode 7. I don't think it's 6, I think it's 7. Walking on the beach, and even like the CG in that, it looked 80s. Like 80s CG. But in a way that it looked good. You know, but it looked like it was filmed in the 80s, which is what I love about this show. The show looks like it was filmed in the 80s. It does not look like it was filmed in this time until you really get to the CG, and then that kind of throws you on out. Bob's cameo. I was so happy for Bob's cameo and the other guy's cameo, the doctor from season 2. That was really great to see those tiny mini cameos. That's what I think makes a show. That really makes a show. There was a lot of other 80s cameos in this. I thought that was really, really good. A great thing to do. Lucas's sister, that was okay. I mean, they built you know, character with her, and I think that a lot of people liked her saying nerd and stuff in season 2 when they were taking the photos during Ghostbusters. I feel like they took that and they like threw that and amplified that into something much bigger in this season, which was great. I don't know if we needed it. I think it would have been better in the background. To make her a full character, sure, bring on another character. There's already like 100+ characters in this movie. The flashback of the Red Ranger. Yes, I'm calling him the Red Ranger from the Power Rangers movie because that's where he's from. I don't know, I just always refer to him as the Red Ranger. His flashback scene of why he was a jerk and all that, which Elle saw, I thought that was really cool. His Jesus Christ redeeming thing at the end when he's getting stabbed by all the monsters, that was really cool. Like the tentacles. Resident Evil tentacles is all I could think about. So that was pretty cool. Uma's daughter, Uma Thurman. Uma and Anthony Weiner, your military secrets have been found. Your daughter, you and Anthony Weiner. I had to do that imitation of Uma Thurman. Oh, Donald. You hate Uma. I like they built her character up. That was amazing. Gave somebody to Steve. Steve now is happy with her and Dustin. I thought that was really cool. You know, one positive thing about the final episode is it was an hour and 20 minutes. I think. Yeah, it was. So honestly, they made that into like its own kind of movie. So really, I guess that is 2 60-minute episodes. We did get like 2 episodes in that last season. So I was happy with that. The Terminator guy, the guy that pretty much acted as a Terminator, was phenomenal. He had this look about the Terminator. He even had the Terminator gloves, those like mesh gloves that the Terminator wore. He didn't really wear the outfit, but his outfit sort of looked like a Terminator 2 outfit a little bit, but his hair, he had a Russian accent instead of an Austrian accent. Okay, so the greatest part about this, for me, this whole show, they ended up singing, and I didn't even think of it until it was in the last episode, and Dustin is forced to sing a song to his girlfriend Susie. And it was the Neverending Story song, which is one of my favorite songs, one of my favorite movies of all time. And that I was even thinking about that in the 80s, and that they were singing it, because that was a huge thing in the 80s. I remember singing that with my sister. I'd have a hairbrush in my hand. Don't tell anybody that. Don't you tell anybody that. I literally would sing with a hairbrush, me and my sister, that song. So that song was a hit song in the 80s. That song was amazing. Lamar, all that. Oh man, that was so good. That was so good. That was a highlight. And again, Hopper dying at the very end, that was sad. I did tear up for that. So I teared up at Hopper's letter to Elle. That was super, super sad. That was very well done, and that made it feel like Stranger Things. They played the music, there was this emotion, this look, everything about it was Stranger Things season 1 and 2. So that does make it up for it at the end. So again, of all the negativity I've had, it wasn't really negative, it was just what they did wrong. Does it ruin the show? No. It's a great season 3. Hopefully they can make up from their mistakes from that and make it awesome. Make it awesome again. Make it as great as season 1 and 2. I don't know if you can top 2. I think the thing is they hit the pivotal in season 2. They hit that like top, and then everything else is a sliding slope, so it's gonna end quietly. Be a series like that. So we're gonna see what happens with Elle's powers. We're gonna see if she gets her powers back. I'm sure she will. Otherwise, guys, this is it. Stranger Things season 3 was pretty good. I'll give it a good. but at the same time, I just wanted to let you know what I felt was wrong with it. So leave your comments down below what maybe you thought was wrong with it, or what you think they could have changed, or what you even liked about it. I really think I'd like to hear from you guys down in the comments below. All right, I'll see you guys later. Chase Mail out.
You've got Chase Mail.